We are back on the Perks Recap podcast, and we are back to go over the NFL draft. We've got who we thought teams were going to pick. Of course, we were like 90% wrong, um, but we're going to go over the draft and then go over team by team. Al, how you doing? Are you ready to discuss this very interesting 2025 draft?
Yeah, that's the right way to put it, my man. I'm doing well. It's good to be back with you and talking some post draft stuff here. It was absolutely fascinating. It really was. There was just a lot of we'll get into the particulars, but there was some really interesting. There was one giant plot line running through the in all 3 days of the draft. There were some interesting trades. There was an interesting trade right off the bat almost. So yeah, all kinds of fun stuff to talk about.
Yep, absolutely agree. So why don't we dive right in? We're going to go team by team, division by division, and yeah, let's hit them.
Let's do it. Okay. So we're going to save our division for last. So let's see where that puts us. Let's start with the NFC North. And we have the Chicago Bears first.
Yep,
Now the Bears, listen, they are doing everything to make Caleb Williams successful. They drafted, and we talked about this on our mock show. We didn't end up doing it, but we talked about the possibility of Colston Loveland being the first tight end off the board instead of Tyler Warren, and
yep,
that's what happened.
yep, and not surprising. Yeah, we did mention him as a possibility for the Bears.
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah, and he's a really interesting guy, man. I mean, those two top tight ends, I flip a coin as far as I'm concerned. Some people feel really strongly on one guy and really strongly on the other. I like them both. I think the Bears made out well here. Then they follow that up by getting Luther Burden the third with their first pick in the second round, the guy who a lot of people had going in the back half of the first round.
Yeah, yep.
So they
So
are,
they,
man, they
they
are loading up on offense, Craig.
yeah, a lot of weapons. They are providing him weapons, and it's going to be kind of put up or shut up time, I think, for Caleb Williams this year.
It is. They're going to be there'll be no more. He had it was his rookie year, so we give him we give him the learning curve and a pass. Now it's put up or shut up time for sure. And not only that, they had. By the way, the Bears had ended up taking 3 picks in the second round. They had a lot of ammo coming into this draft, and they used it. And so the first 2 picks were tight end and receiver. Then they went offensive tackle Ozzie Trapillo out of Boston College with their second round pick, and
Which
then
they needed.
which they needed. Yes, they have 2 tackles that we were both kind of like, do they really like these guys? Well, we found out.
Right, right.
And and then they picked a defensive tackle, Shamar Turner, with their last second round pick, and then from there it's just a bunch of guys, late round picks. We won't dive too hard into anything after round 2 unless there's something really interesting that one of us wants to talk about.
Right. Sounds good.
Cool. Okay, so then we move on to the Detroit Lions. Now, the Lions had a very interesting draft. They had 2 picks that were largely regarded as massive, not massive, but definitely reaches. But I don't consider them bad picks personally. First pick was Tyleik Williams from defensive tackle from Ohio State. That was their first reach, quote
Yeah, I
unquote.
think that's a little bit of a reach.
It is. It is. And
It's not crazy. It's not crazy, like you said. It's not crazy, crazy, but a
yeah,
little reach. A little
It
reach.
it's one of those that if it works out, you're like, okay, they were smart, and if it doesn't, people point out and be like, yeah, they overreached.
Right.
And then they went guard from Georgia, Tate Ratledge, in the second round, which they need some help on the line. I don't know much about Tate, but it makes sense on the surface. Now, here's the pick I do want to talk about, and this is one of the after round 2 picks I want to talk about. Isaac, first of all, one of the coolest names in the draft, Isaac Tesla.
Yes.
Now, this wide
Isn't
receiver
it
from
Tesla?
Arkansas.
Isn't it something? It's not pronounced Tesla.
Everybody
I
on the
don't.
draft was saying Tesla. It looks like it should be Tesla.
Right. Yeah, I thought it was actually. I thought I actually heard somebody say something about how everybody's saying Tesla, but it's not. But
And that
I
could be
could be wrong.
right. I just know I heard like 27 people say Tesla. So until further notice, I'm going with that because it's the only one I'm going to remember.
Right.
I love it. It would be great if it's actually Tesla, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yes.
Now, this guy, some people consider this a reach. By the time you're into third round wide receivers, you take who you like. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's what I think too.
But the thing that stands out about this guy that makes him interesting and some guy to keep an eye on is he tested off the charts athletically. One of the best athletic testers in the whole draft. So keep an eye on old Tesla down the road, man. He could be a fun guy to keep an eye on, or he could be a guy with stone hands that's just a great athlete. You know, I'm not
I
sure.
see what you did there. Tesla down the road.
That's awesome. Nice. Oh, I love it. All right. So now moving on to Green Bay. Now, this is fascinating because we talked about this. Another thing we talked about was that the Packers hadn't taken a receiver since the early 2000s in the first round. What did they do? Took a receiver in the first round.
Yep. And I
Matthew
said,
Golden.
who was it?
Matthew Golden.
Right. I didn't think he'd be there,
I didn't either.
so I gave him egg back. Was it Buku?
Yeah,
Buka?
yeah, yeah. From Ohio State, who ended up going higher than Golden.
Right. But either way, I was thinking this was going to be the year that they were going to pick a receiver, and they
Well, it
did.
certainly made sense. I just didn't think they'd do it because they
Right.
had been so dug in on that. And it's funny because they had their GM or somebody. It wasn't Buddha Kunst or whatever his name is, their weird named GM, but it was some other guy that works for the organization came out and he was like, "And we're gonna do it. We're taking a receiver in the first round." Like he made it was like a big like dorky like
Oh, okay.
it was funny. It was like a Duval moment almost. It was really awkward and weird. Now,
Awesome.
so that's a really interesting one, man. I mean, they have that guy is definitely there's some up mixed opinions on Golden because he was a combine riser, and I just can't wait to see what he's like in the NFL. Is he Xavier Worthy or is he one of a million other guys that had great combines and flame out? I can't wait to find out because I think he's a player. Can't wait to find out though.
Yeah, and they need receiver help.
Oh my God! I mean, they have eight number three wide receivers. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
one guy who has potential to be a number one who can't stay on the field.
Right, exactly. So they needed receiver help, and I'm glad they got it for them.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Okay, and then just to mention real quick, they had a pretty thorough draft. I mean, they took a tackle, another receiver. They took another receiver in the third round, by the way, because they don't have enough third round receivers. um, and just filled it out with defensive line, defensive backs, and guards and stuff, and not much else noteworthy there.
All right.
Okay, moving on then to Minnesota. Now they had a pretty uneventful draft. They took a guard from Ohio State, Donovan Jackson, in the first round. Solid pick. You know, nothing to really complain about on that pick or to get super fired up about. He's a very solid guard prospect from all accounts.
Yep.
And then they didn't have a pick until round three, and they took a receiver, Ty Felton from Maryland, and an edge guy. They took Kobe King from Penn State, who I've watched play a lot in the sixth round. Nothing else too exciting. That's it. They only had five picks in the whole draft.
Right. I mean, it's good they got a offensive lineman first. They got they got a young quarterback who's going to need all the time he can get.
Absolutely, absolutely. I did find it interesting that they prioritized receiver at all with only five picks in the draft and already having two great receivers on their team. But hey, man, I'm sure the quarterback's not bad.
Yeah.
So, all right, now we get to the one of the most interesting teams in the entire draft. Um, and boy, they were. It was. We said the same thing about them last year, and that is the Atlanta Falcons. Um, I'm scrolling on Yahoo Sports for this list, okay, and nobody has had less than a B so far on the grades Yahoo was handing out. Falcons got a C minus. Now, I don't know if I totally agree with that, but here's where they're coming from, and I agree with it in part for sure. They had one of the best picks in the first round when Jalen Walker fell all the way to 15. It started off perfect for them.
Yeah. Yep.
Perfect. They have been arguably they are to the defensive line what the Giants are to the offensive line for the last what feels like 10 years, you know?
Yep.
And they started off by having arguably the best pass rusher in the draft fall to them 7 or 8 spots past where most people had him going. So great start. Then their GM apparently lost his mind and traded up. Now, it's not the player I have an issue with. They traded up from, and check the details out on this. They traded up to 26 in the first round from 46 in the second round. So they moved up 20 spots, and they gave up that 46, a seventh rounder, and a first rounder next year in what, by all accounts, is one of the most loaded drafts in the history of the draft. All right. And they gave it up to get what is anywhere from the fourth to the sixth rated defensive end on most people's lists.
Who was that? Who they got with that pick?
James Pierce Jr. from University of Tennessee.
Yes. We had him going much later. We had him going. Actually, we didn't have him going at all. We had him going. Oh, well, I had him going 28th.
Yeah, I had him going somewhere, definitely. And
You had him going 27th.
27th. Okay, cool. So yeah, it wasn't that far off from where we had him going, but neither of us were going to give up a first rounder in the greatest draft of all time to do it. You know what I mean? Now, if James Pierce isn't an all pro, or if let me put it this way, if he doesn't average at least 8 to 12 sacks a year for the next 7 years, this is a horrible trade.
Yes.
So let's find out. Let me see what else they did. Get back to my spot here. Okay. So now here's the positive of that. If you want to spin it positive, they arguably got two of the best pass rushers in the entire draft. They certainly got the one of the best in Walker, and
Yep.
Pierce is on everybody's top 6 that I saw. So two of the best pass rushers in the whole draft to help aid their just hideous pass rush. So hopefully they help themselves. You know what I mean?
Right. But like you said, it just sounds like a trade that's not going to work out in the long run.
Yeah, the cost was steep, man. The cost was steep. If he's a Pro Bowler, it's fine. Nobody cares what you give up. If he's not, it's a bad move.
Yeah, I mean, you don't really see that where teams move up 20 spots. That's crazy.
That's a big move, dude. That's where big things start getting handed over to the other team. And I'll tell you, I mean, I'm fine with the way the draft worked out for the Eagles, but I wouldn't have minded them getting that call. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
whatever the Eagles got this year that I love, I'd be willing to put it aside for next year number one from a team who, God knows how good they're going to be. Who knows? You know what I mean?
Yep.
All right. So, yeah, one of the more fascinating teams in the draft. Now, moving on to the Carolina Panthers. Now, So now where did I know I had Ted. Did we both end up putting Ted on the Cowboys? Because I know I did. I can't remember what you did with him.
Yeah.
Okay. Boy, well, he was, and it wasn't a shock, but he went earlier than most people had him mocked to the Carolina Panthers. And the development of Bryce Young continues to get a little bit of some help, man. I mean, this is a lot. It was probably, I would say, about 75% of experts' favorite receiver in the draft, and then it was split between a couple other people between the other 25%.
Yep.
And it's just a fascinating and a heck of an addition for them. I mean, I can't believe it happened, actually.
Yeah. Do you think it's a little early or no?
I don't, because that's the first spot I saw him going. And if they get Mike Evans 2.0, it's exactly where he should have gone. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And that's what a lot of people think he is.
Okay. All right.
Listen, I'm not 100% sold on this guy. I'm not 100%. Like, I'm a little wishy washy, but it's not like I don't blame Carolina for doing it. I'll say that it doesn't like jump off as like a horrible pick. I'm just like, I didn't see him enough. I saw him a good amount. I was impressed, but I just don't feel like I have a great handle on it. So I don't want to make a bold proclamation without feeling good about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That makes sense.
Now, the rest of their draft, they had a lot of picks, and they got some good players, man. I mean, players, that I were on. One of them, Nick Scourton, who I think I had going in the first round, towards the end of the first round. They got him in pick 51 in the second round. Then they followed that up with another edge guy and one of the best names in the draft, Princely Umanmielen. I'm not sure about the last name, but Princely. Come on, let's go. And then the only other pick of theirs I wanted to mention is they got Trevor Etienne in round 4.
Right. Who is ATN, he's his brother, right?
Travis's brother. You got it.
Travis's. Yep.
And by the way, maybe a bit of a shame for him that he got drafted there because they have the most crowded damn running back room in football. They now have Chuba Hubbard, who established himself as a Pro Bowler in year 3 of his NFL career last year. They signed your guy, what's his face, who ran for 1,000
Rico.
yards last year. Who is it?
Rico.
Thank you, Rico Dowdle. They have the second round pick from last year, Jonathan Brooks, who everybody and their brother was crazy high on. And now they have Trevor Etienne. So, man, woo, they'll be fighting for carries in that room, man. Wow.
Maybe they're gonna make a move, make a trade.
You never know. You never know. It's possible. And they run the ball enough that maybe they just want to load up on a position they consider to be that important. It's possible that too, you know.
Yep.
But yeah, either one is very possible. Whew. Okay, man. Now another really interesting team to discuss, and that is the New Orleans Saints.
Okay.
Now we weren't 100% sure how to pronounce his name, but boy, did we find out a lot about Tyler. I've now heard it pronounced Tyler Show, I think, more than anything. What have you heard?
Stowe.
Show, like the big
Uh,
show.
oh, really? I've heard. I've heard shock
Shock, okay, because I've heard
or
shuck.
shock or
I've heard
shock. Yeah.
shuck. I've
No,
heard
shock.
show.
Shock.
Well, we're going to learn how to pronounce his name because he's now the second round pick of the Saints, and they're the guy they're definitely looking at is to develop behind Carr. So they
Yep.
took Kel. I'm sorry. Go ahead, please.
No. I was just saying. He was the draft riser. He was the biggest riser in the draft from where it started to where it ended up going.
Yeah, he was a big one, man. I mean, it was. I mean, between him and Matthew Golden, you know, because Golden wasn't going anywhere near the first round either early on. So yeah, I'm with you. He's easily the most polarizing quarterback of all of these guys, except for one other guy. But that's a whole different story. Just as far as his play on the field, he's going to be. I mean, this is wild, dude. He's going to be a 26-year-old rookie, which remember the big deal made out of Brandon Whedon years ago.
I remember him. Yeah.
Remember, because he was 26 years old coming out, and everybody was like, "That's insane! That can't happen! That's the craziest thing ever." Well, after COVID and the transfer portals, this is not the craziest thing in the world anymore to have a 26-year-old rookie, and here he is. He only had one really good year in college football, so I can't wait to see what this guy is. He's a fascinating guy to me. I wouldn't have taken him personally. He's not even in my top 3, 4 quarterbacks coming out, so I can't wait to see what happens with this guy. What do you think of this whole thing?
I'm gonna have to. I got to reserve judgment. I always do that with the draft. It's hard for me. It's always the second or third season where you can really judge how a draft pick worked or not.
That's something we should do, man. We should go back and do our 2024 draft right before the 2027 season. We should review it.
Yeah, I would definitely review it. That's exactly what should be done. Because that's when you can really get a good handle on
That's
how
when
to
you
pick
really
things.
know. You're right. You're totally right. And it's something I used to, because I used to, in the era of videotapes, I used to tape all the drafts. And then like I would pop out the '05 draft in 2009 and see how things looked. You know what I mean? So I love that kind of thing. And nobody does it. Nobody does it.
Right.
So
So
that
we'll
would
do
be
it.
another cool angle for us.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So overall with the Saints, Tyler's gonna, however we say, we'll learn his name because he earned it now with a second round draft pick, but we'll get there. They also took Kel. By the way, one of the highest. Maybe I don't want to say it's not a reach, but it's one of the more surprisingly high first round picks, right on the heels of Ted McMillan, was Kelvin Banks Jr. at number 9,
Yeah.
offensive
Yeah.
tackle
Yeah.
from Texas.
Yep.
Not that I disagree with it. It was just he wasn't that high in most on most draft boards. He was the second, usually the second or third tackle on everybody's board, so that wasn't out of line with anything. It was just a little bit of an eye raiser, nothing crazy. I'm trying to see if there's anything else really of note. They took a ton of other players, but nothing really to get into.
Yeah.
Not
I see running back, a tight end, edge rusher. Yeah.
Yeah, nothing too exciting. Hopefully for them, good solid players, but nothing jumping off the board.
Okay.
Now,
Real quick.
oh
Real
please go
quick.
ahead.
You mentioned that you were getting some draft grades.
Yes.
How about we do the go over the draft grades real quick over the teams we've already done, and we'll do that each
Oh,
time.
and I'll start mentioning them each time then. You got it. Okay. So let me get
So we
back up
started
to.
with the Bears, right?
Yeah.
I have a different source, but what did the Bears get for in your source of what was it,
Okay.
Fox News?
This is Yahoo Sports, and they are giving the Bears a B.
Oh, okay. Yep. Okay, I'm on the same one. I'm on Yahoo. Okay.
Oh, okay. And then
Then
Detroit.
the Lions got a B as well.
Yep.
Green Bay got a B as well.
Boom.
The Vikings got a C.
Yes, and that was in large part because Yahoo doesn't like guards, and they didn't have a lot of picks.
And Atlanta got a C minus. Wow.
Yeah, that was the only one they really, really hated so far.
Carolina got an A.
Yeah, yeah. I don't blame them for that. I mean, if you like Tet McMillan, I don't blame them for giving them an A. They got that. They got two edge rushers that a lot of times were going in the second or first. They got a. Let me put it this way: Scourton was often going at the end of the first round in mocks. They got him in round two, and Princely was going in round two in a lot of mocks, and they got him in round three. So they got some good value there.
Yep. And Saints B minus. And here
Yeah.
we go.
Okay. All right. And that brings us to Tampa Bay. And boy, was this an interesting pick. You mentioned this guy earlier, and he ended up going ahead of Matthew Golden. That's a Mecca Ekbuka, sorry, who, what a fascinating team for him to go to. I dismissed out of hand the idea of a first round receiver to going to Tampa Bay because they re-signed Godwin. Now, I know he's coming off an injury, but they re-signed him to a hefty deal. It's not like it's not like they just brought him back on a 1 year prove it deal or something. They have Mike Evans, but they're both I think Godwin is now 29 and Evans is on the other side of 30, and they had the rookie receiver McMillan last year who played really well. So I just kind of thought they weren't going to look much at receiver, but boom, load up the
Yeah.
coffers. Baker
Yeah.
Mayfield's happy. Let's go.
Yeah. Exactly. They just loaded it up. They're ready for when Evans and Godwin have a downturn, or to be honest, let's be honest, they're injured quite a bit as well.
No doubt.
So yeah, I do understand the move, but you would think they had other needs that they would have addressed, but they went with this, and I don't fault them for it. And they followed it up with all defense until the last round, which was another wide receiver.
Another receiver. Right, right.
They went two cornerbacks, a D lineman, two D linemen, and then another receiver. They only had one, two, three, seven picks or six picks.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, man, it's an interesting draft. They got to they certainly went after secondary help and defensive line help with those other picks. And everybody loves Egbuka. Like I've heard he nailed the interview process to the point where everybody was pretty much like he's our favorite guy in the whole draft.
Yep, yep,
So they got a great guy. They got a guy who was a great player in college. If he can bring all that to the NFL, they're going to love it.
yep. And
Um,
we did not. Yeah, we did not even have any offensive players as a possibility for Tampa.
no, and I wasn't thinking of it at all, honestly, because it was just their offense has been so good, and but it does make sense given the ages of their top two guys. It really does. So
Yep. And they got a
it,
B. They got a B for their grade.
yes, they got to be. Um, Now, moving on to the NFC West, we get to the first A in this whole thing from Yahoo, who's honestly, pretty stingy compared to some other sites with their grades, which I don't mind. Um, Now, this is where the Walter Nolan went. We talked a lot about Nolan. He was a very interesting prospect and all over draft boards as in the top 10, in going to the Eagles at 32. I saw he was all over the place, and he ends up going right in the middle of the first round to the Cardinals at 16.
Yep. Well, what I think is really interesting is the fact that I had Will Johnson, the cornerback, as a possibility for them in the first round, and they got him in the second.
Well, I'm glad you brought him up because he was one of the most interesting stories of the day. And this is where it makes it impossible to mock. It really does, because what ended up happening and coming out during the course of the draft is that his injury issues just knocked him down at least a full round past where he would have gone otherwise. There's a lingering knee thing that a lot of teams just completely took him off their board because of. So, and that's the kind of stuff, that's that inside stuff. Now, we knew he had some injury stuff, but a lot of people have injury stuff and they get drafted early. So it's just the extent of it. And the guys on ESPN don't know. The guys on the NFL Network don't know. So we can't know. You know what I mean? But I just couldn't believe he lasted that long. And if he ends up missing a little bit of time early on, and he's just the healthy guy, then from that point on, they got a freaking steal.
Well, that's why they got the A,
Absolutely,
because he could be a CB1 in the second round.
absolutely, yeah. No, we've seen it happen before. This kind of thing happens all the time. So
Yep.
I can't wait to see how he ends up being in the pros. I mean, because it's possible they really look at all. By the way, they didn't go offense until their sixth round pick, and every other pick was defense.
Yep.
I
Yep.
mean,
Yep.
they went hard, and they got two guys from Ohio State. They got a guy from Michigan. I mean, oh man, yeah. So they are really trying to improve that defense. And Jonathan Gannon, the old Eagles defensive coordinator, is trying desperately to bring some defense to that town. And this draft ought to help some for sure. And it's going to be really interesting to track Will Johnson and his health and see how he outplays that pick over time.
I totally agree. Totally agree.
And did I say we did say they got an A, right?
Yes, they got an A. Yep.
Okay. All right. Now, moving on to another freaking A.
Yeah, they got an A as well. The Rams.
The Rams. Now, that's an interesting one for a team who didn't have a first round pick. Now, I'm trying to remember where that first round pick went, and that's probably part of this
It's
A.
the Falcons.
Oh, because they were the recipient of the Falcons. I forgot that was
Yeah,
oh,
and the Falcons, yeah, gave them so they had two first round picks next year.
no wonder they got an A. Yep, that makes perfect sense after
Yep.
that was a haul they had to take.
And
Period.
in the little write up here, it says just getting the Falcons first round 2026 first round pick for this year's 26th overall pick makes this an A by itself.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I completely agree. Completely agree. Yeah, and then they got one of the stud tight ends that we talked about on the preview show, Terrence Ferguson from Oregon.
Another
Um,
Ferguson tight end.
Yeah, another Ferguson. That's right. And they got a running back that's of any running back that this team takes, you have to think instantly is probably pretty good, and because they have, I mean, some of the best success outside of the 49ers taking running backs late over there, and and I liked Jarquez Hunter in college anyway, so that makes me think he might be pretty good in the pros.
Yep, absolutely. Yep, I totally like it. They didn't go too late with it. It wasn't like a seventh round flyer, round
Right.
four, right where he should go. And I'm willing to bet he's going to be productive.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention one of my favorite names in the draft, their seventh round pick, Kanata Mumpfield.
Love
Let's go. Pitt wide receiver. Now,
it.
oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, please.
No, I just said I love it.
Oh, right on. Got you. Sorry. I love it, man. Right there with you. So now we go to a team you and I are tracking whether they're on their last legs or about to be in a midst of a rebirth after a down year. And this draft, according to Yahoo, didn't help much. They got a C plus. That's the 49ers.
Yeah, and I actually got this pick right.
Well done. Well done.
Michael Williams is who I picked for them, and that's who they got. Who
Yeah,
I
nice
like.
one.
I think that's a good pick. It's just the rest of the draft didn't go that great. But I think he's a fine edge rusher out of Georgia. He's going to be a good player. I have no reason to think he won't be good.
Yeah, I don't have any issue with that pick. You know what I mean? I just I don't know why I don't know enough about some of these late round choices.
Right, right. But
Like
that's
I don't
apparently
like
where it went bad for them.
Yeah, like why do they hate Alfred Collins, the defensive tackle from Texas? I don't know why they don't like their draft so much. I'm really not sure.
It says Michael Williams in the first round and Alfred Collins in the second round are fine.
Okay, it was everything else. Okay.
He made big reaches in the third round and with Nick Martin and Upton Stout, and they were both projected to be day 3 or possibly undrafted.
Okay, well, the Upton Stout one, that's one guy I knew know something about, and that one was a reach. And he's also 5'8". So unless he's incredible, unless he's Antone Winfield, you know what I mean?
Yep.
He's not going to make a massive impact on you.
But yeah, Upton Stout is an undersized. He's only 5'8".
Yeah, 5'8".
As a
He's a
cornerback, that's gonna be
That's why I
tough.
say unless he's Antone Winfield, who's the last. I mean, that guy was tiny but a great player. I'm trying to think of other like 5'8" corners that were successful in the NFL. There's not a whole lot, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, that makes sense. Then that makes sense. Yeah, the Niners, man. I don't know. I don't know, bud. I don't know. Although I will say, you might want to just draft Jordan James right now, the running back from Oregon, because he's gonna run for 100 yards at some point this season.
Absolutely, totally agree. Because they do well with that. It's just one of the things they're really good at.
Nobody does better. Nobody does that better. And I'm the first one to be critical on Shanahan, but nobody recognizes running backs and utilizes them better.
Yep. All right, so we move on to Seattle. They got a B+ for this draft,
Yeah, they got
and
two
another
of my
one we got
favorite
right.
picks. Wait,
Another
which?
one
Oh,
I
wait. What do we
I
get
got
right?
right. I'm sorry, I got it right.
I was going to say
you
because I didn't have Gray's able going. You credit to you on that one.
you had Barron, the linebacker, um,
Yes.
but I actually had Gray Zabel as their pick.
Nice one, man. And I like that guy. I mean, he can play everywhere. He played tackle in college. Most people, almost everybody thinks he's a guard in the NFL, but he played tackle in college. So it's possible. A lot of times when people come from North Dakota State or anywhere that's not the SEC or the Big Ten, they will say things like, "Oh, he can't possibly do that in the NFL," and then they find out he can. So we'll see. But at the very least, they got a top-notch guard prospect in the NFL for sure.
Yep, but the most interesting pick is Jalen Milrow in the third.
Yeah, man. And how about Sam Darnold getting to feel safe for about 3 weeks?
Well, what do you? I mean, you think they're gonna sandbag him like that? I mean, they didn't. He wasn't cheap for them.
Do you remember Matt Flynn?
Yes, I remember.
Do you remember he signed a big contract after throwing for I think it was 5 or 6 touchdowns in a playoff game to be the starter for Seattle after that playoff game for Green Bay,
And
and
then
then they drafted a
Hasselbeck,
guy named Russell Wilson in the fourth round, and
Russell
he
Wilson.
and he never took the field as a starting quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks. Now I'm not saying Jalen Milrow is Russell Wilson, but he was drafted a round higher and they didn't draft him to just sit around. They also said he is not Cordell Stewart. They are not making him a slash. He is a quarterback, period, end of story.
Yep.
So I just
I would
can't wait to see my man.
assume. I would assume that if Darnold's playing well and they're doing okay, I don't think they're a Super Bowl contender or anything. But until they're like officially out of the playoffs or eliminated some way, or he goes down, I got a feeling that he's probably going to sit the entire year.
It's possible. It is. But I'll tell you what, it's got to suck being Sam Darnold and being completely safe the day before the draft, and now you're not.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Don't get me wrong. If they're like 0-5 and he is, 2 touchdowns, 6 picks, that's it. That's gonna be it for him.
Absolutely. It's going to be really interesting. And I don't know what Jalen Milroe is going to be in the NFL. I have no clue. But I know what I heard about Jalen Hurts when he came out, and I know almost everybody was wrong.
And there's that Eamon Worry who we talked about a little bit in our preview show. The safety went to them in round 2. They had a pretty good draft. They only got a
I
B
like
plus.
I like their draft a lot. I like
I
it
do
more
too.
than Yahoo does.
Me too.
Yeah, because I like Gray Zabel. Eamon Worry is just it's actually perfect. He went to Seattle in a sense because he's Cam Chancellor. What was his last name? Cam Chancellor.
Well, Chancellor, yeah.
Chancellor. Um, he's him reincarnated. I mean, it's like he's a massive freaking safety with all the tools in the world, and who's productive too. So I love it. And you want to see the poster, like the grade A, like prime beef tight end body in the draft this year. Look up Elijah Royo because they took him too, and I like that guy a lot.
Well, I'll tell you what, they had a ton of picks. I'm just realizing they had 2 second rounders, a third rounder, no fourth rounder, but then three fifth rounders
Yep.
and three seventh rounders.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Yeah. They
That's what
they
made me get even worried because I had even more going number 30 to Buffalo. He only went 5 picks later because they had the 35th
Yep.
pick is where he went. So actually, we were in the range with him. Just the round wasn't right, but yeah.
Yeah, and
So
he was one of my top five guys that I didn't have in the first round.
yeah, and he went fifth or third after the first round. So yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, man, and I like him a lot. I mean, he's gonna a guy I'm looking forward to watching play. So, and Elijah, keep your eyes on Elijah Arroyo. You might want to draft him this year in fantasy if you don't get a stud like one of the stud tight ends because I think he's going to make an impact right away.
Yep, yep,
All right, moving on to AFC East,
yeah, yep. Let's
Buffalo
see what
Bills.
they got a B minus.
Oh, now they got one of the most fun people in the draft. Did you happen to see the guy who beat what were they calling him? The congratulator or something like that. There was this he was dressed in this blue suit and there was a guy who was hugging everybody that got drafted in the first round and everybody like the experts knew who it was but some people like there was all kinds of social media like who's the guy hugging everybody blah 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 and it's the guy that they took here, Maxwell Harrison, who one of my favorite corners in the whole draft. I love this guy.
Yep,
um
we mentioned him as a possibility. I had them getting Eamon Warros, but yeah, he was on my list for Buffalo.
Yeah, I had him going. I don't have my. I guess I should have had my picks right in front of me while we were doing this, but I don't.
That's right.
I
I
had him.
have who you picked.
I had him
You
going
had
to somebody.
Harmon. You had Harmon, the defensive tackle.
That's right. Yeah, I had Harrison going a little earlier. I think actually. But anyway, yeah. So they got him. They got T.J. Harrison, the defensive tackle from South Carolina, in the second round. They just loaded up on defense for the most part for the early picks. I mean, geez, they went corner, defensive tackle, edge, defensive line, defensive back for the first 5 picks.
Yep, and then tight end, and then two more defensive players, quarterback and offensive tackle, and then ended it with a receiver. So yeah, they just added a tight end and a receiver late, and that's it. So not really much help for their offense, but their defense should be looking pretty good this year.
I mean, they're definitely getting some freaking help, no doubt about it. I mean, they got some massive help in the room. So, did you hear? By the way, side note, while we're talking about the Bills, did you hear about the Bills GM going on the local radio show and ripping the host for ripping him for not addressing receiver in the offseason adequately in their mind?
No, I didn't.
There's a play by play quote on an article on I think you can find it on NFL.com or CBS.com. That's usually where I'm looking. Um, but it was priceless, and I'll tell you what. And I've been critical of their receivers for sure. I mean, I don't think anybody out there would say just you can't criticize their receivers justifiably. The last few years, but he made a great point. He's like, dude, we averaged over 30 points a game last year. What do you want?
Yeah,
He's like, we averaged more points a game than the team that won the Super Bowl. What would you like me to do? I was like, okay, fair point.
yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Point taken. All right, moving on to the Dolphins.
Dolphins, they got a B minus.
And they also got one of my favorite guys in the draft. I love a big man, Greg, and they got the biggest first rounder out there.
Yeah,
Kenneth Grant from Michigan.
Kenneth Grant from Michigan. He's a big boy.
Yeah, and all mocks, I mean, anybody that happened to get lucky enough to get 1 through 12 was done there because almost everybody and their brother had him going to Harbaugh at 22 because of the Michigan connection.
Yeah, that's who we had him going. We both had him going to Michigan or to Harbaugh.
It made a lot of
We
sense.
decided on Will Johnson, the cornerback.
Yeah,
That's who we
and that
thought.
was way too early, as it turned out, because of the medicals that we didn't know
Yes.
about.
Yep. But yeah, they also got a running back, 6th round, so you don't know for sure what we're going to get here. But they went all defense. Well, the second round they got I don't know how to pronounce that guy's name, Jonah, whatever. And on, yeah, and he's a guard.
Abanaya.
Yeah, he's a guard. But then they went D tackle, defensive back, cornerback, then running back.
Yeah, man. No, and by the way, they got Quinn Ewers in round 7, who had one of the largest plummets from recruiting to draft day that I remember. I mean, this guy was supposed to be the next great thing. This guy was supposed to be the next, who pick Peyton Manning, who you name your favorite prospect ever. This guy was supposed to be it, and he ended up being almost Mr. Irrelevant. So,
Crazy.
fascinating.
Yep, yep.
Yeah,
All
and
right.
Ollie Gordon. The Miami Dolphins take a running back every year, whether they need one or not, and they usually are good. So,
Yep. I expect him to be in the mix and yeah, and do well.
yep, absolutely. All right, man. Shifting. Oh wait, no, we're in the. I forgot to say we're in the AFC East now, and staying there. The Patriots got an A here. Let's see what we think of that.
Well,
Well,
Will Campbell's a win.
absolutely. Travion Henderson. I'm a big Travion Henderson fan. Now,
Yeah.
I don't love anybody ending up with the Patriots for their fantasy future, but if anybody can outshine that organization, it's Travion, and hopefully they're on their way to a turnaround for fantasy sake of Travion Henderson. Hopefully, Vrabel will turn them back into a competent NFL team after a few years off. Kyle Williams from Washington State. It just seems like a typical Patriot waste of a pick to me. They haven't been able to draft receivers since Bill Belichick has been coaching them. It was their list of wide receiver busts is longer than the Declaration of Independence.
Yes. I am glad they went heavy offense early though, because they need offense. Obviously, they can't move the ball, so they got Campbell and Henderson, which is big. But then, like you said, Williams, and then they got a center as well in the third round. They
Yeah,
had two third round picks, so the first four picks were all offense.
I'm all for that
Then,
too.
yep, and then all defense after that until they went in round five. They picked a kicker.
Yeah, Aurora Borealis. Andres Barreglis, who is, by the way, this, if you were gonna, there were only 2 kickers taken in this entire draft, and this was one of the 2 that should have been taken. So if you need a kicker, I don't have a problem with it. At least they didn't do it in the first round like Al Davis.
Yep, yep. So, so we did pick Campbell for them, but that was not a hard one. I'm not
Yeah,
giving
we
us
were,
much
and
credit. I'm not
we
giving
were.
us much
I think
credit for
we
the
were
first
six
two
for
picks.
six, by the way, Craig. Early,
Were we?
I think. We might have differed on something. I think I was 6 for 6 early. We might have differed on something in there, but
Well,
and
the trade messed me up.
yeah, but the pick is the pick. You know what I
The
mean?
pick
Well,
is the pick, yes.
yeah. So, yeah, but anyway, but then it all fell apart for me after that. So,
As it did for me. I got a couple of little lucky things, but for the most part, way off.
yeah, once Ted McMillan went 8, it was pretty much all over for me. All right. Anything else about who were we on there? New
New
England.
England.
Anything else about that one?
Now let's move on to the Jets and their B plus.
Yes, yes, absolutely. One of their, and that was one of the picks that screwed up my mock because I had somebody other than Membu going there. I can't remember who. Oh, Tyler Warren.
Yeah, we both had Warren going to them. We thought they were going to go tight end. They went tight end in the second round, and Membu's a good. He's a good offensive tackle. He should be a good offensive tackle. They beefed up their line there, and yeah, I got no problem with that pick,
I
and
don't either.
especially since they went back to the tight end right after.
And a lot of people think he was the third best tight end, Mason Taylor.
Yeah,
A lot of like I like him a lot personally. He was a guy that the Eagles ended up not moving Dallas Goddard over the draft time, which was a hot rumor. But if that had happened, he was a guy a lot of people had going to the Eagles at 32. So getting him at 42, I have no disagreement at all with that B plus grade. I love their first 2 picks.
yeah, and apparently Arian Smith, the receiver from Georgia, is also considered a pretty good pick where they got him, which was round 4, and he's a deep ball. He's a deep ball threat, and that's Fields' specialty.
Yeah, he's an interesting guy, man. He's one of those guys. He averaged 17 yards a catch last year.
Yeah, that's
So
that's big.
yeah, yeah, that's going to be really interesting. I can't wait to see that team this year. I cannot wait, man. I really can't. With Josh Fields and a new regime, I'm just really I'm really curious to see where all that lands. I can't wait.
Yeah,
Okay. Moving on now to the AFC North. We go to the Baltimore Ravens, who, surprise, surprise, had one of the top guys in the draft fall right to them, and they didn't have to do anything.
he got a B plus, and yeah, Malachi Starks, the safety.
And let's also, I want to talk a little bit more about him then, but before we do that, let's talk about one of the bigger falls in the draft, and that is Mike Green. I didn't realize, I had heard that there was some kind of off the field thing, but I didn't do enough research. And I would not have had him going in the first round if I had, because he had 2 separate sexual assault accusations, never a charge filed, but one in high school and one in college that led to his dismissal from a school. So that led to him plummeting all the way to 59 in the second round. Now, if you like apparently a lot of teams, the Eagles included, the Eagles just chop people like that right off their board. They won't even look at them,
Yep.
which I understand. If if this guy's all right, if he's a decent human being, and these were just false accusations, the Ravens may have gotten the steal of the draft or one of them.
Yes, because he's a monster pass rusher. I actually had them taking him in the first round.
Yeah, which I mean, listen, some people I think I might have had him going to like the Falcons in the middle of the first round or something. I thought a lot of this guy as a player, so I just didn't know enough about the off field stuff. My bad on
Yeah,
that, but
you had the Falcons getting Michael Williams,
okay,
but he was on the list. He was there.
right
We
on,
talked
right
about it.
on.
All right.
Cool. Okay. And then and Malachi Starks falling to them is just typical Ravens, man. I mean, typical
Yeah,
Ravens.
yeah, we
Just
had him
grab.
going much earlier. And also, real quick, you had Mike Green going to Cincinnati at 17.
There you go. Thank you. Thank you. I knew I had him going way higher than he went. And then a bunch of, like they had a lot of picks, man. A ton of picks. They threw some darts, and we'll see where they land. You know what I
They
mean?
had
But
5 6 round picks.
yeah, yeah. And one of them was the other kicker, by the way. Tyler Luke from Arizona, who, and by the way, we might see not, I don't even think it's arguably the greatest kicker of all time might never play again and might not get into the Hall of Fame because his legacy is in the process of being completely tarnished right now
Oh, of
with
course. Yep.
he is and with sexual assault allegations that we I don't know if they're true or not. Who knows? But boy, it doesn't look good, and the Ravens are preparing for him never to play for them again.
Yep. As they should.
I completely agree. All right, now moving on to the in division, a team that needed to nail the draft, and according to Yahoo, did not, and that
They
is the
got it.
Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, they gave him a C. Um, well, it just doesn't seem like they addressed their concerns. They didn't have a lot of picks.
Yeah,
They had
absolutely.
6 picks.
Yep.
But, I mean, is Shamar Stewart that bad of a pick, really? I don't really have too much
Shamar.
hope on him.
Well. Here's the thing. Shamar Stewart is the guy that had 4.5 sacks in all of his years of college.
Right.
So you're taking a guy on traits. This is the guy I had going to the 49ers, where you nailed it with Michael Williams. This is the guy, because the 49ers love guys like Shamar Stewart, and they have over time. They love guys that are 6'8", 290, and can play defensive end. You know what I mean? And so I thought it was a perfect fit. But the comp for this guy, if you want to take the positive angle, is Donnell Hunter, who is now in his 7th or 8th year in the league and is a sack monster, has almost 100 sacks in his career now. He had a horrible college career and was drafted solely on traits. So this is that kind of guy. Now, Donnell Hunter, I think, was drafted in the 4th round. So that's why they're knocking him down for him. Anybody that drafted Shamar Stewart was going to get knocked down by most draft experts because he's a projection. projection. He did nothing in college of any note.
Their most interesting pick, according to Yahoo, is Dylan Fairchild, the guard, because he apparently is one of the strongest players in the entire draft. And he's like
Oh,
a mauler, but he's raw.
oh,
But
that's awesome.
for them, I mean, they need offensive line help.
Yeah, I'm so with you. They needed a big
Offensive line and defense.
yeah, they needed a pass rusher badly, and they tried with Shamar Stewart. Let's see if they got the guy. I mean,
They
hopefully
got linebacker.
exceeds.
Yeah, they went linebacker second round, the Beatrice Knight.
Yep. Which another need, and that's so I don't know. I don't know enough about him honestly, but it's a need. So, and then they tried linebacker again in round 4 with Barrett Carter from Clemson. But yeah, it's just not a very inspiring draft, And then they're when your number one draft pick is one of the most polarizing guys projected to go in the first round, it's going to draw some C's.
Yeah, and that's exactly what they got.
Yeah.
All right, I'm ready to move on.
Oh, well, we're about to talk about arguably the most interesting draft of the entire weekend. We'll start with the grade. The Cleveland Browns got a B minus from Yahoo, but let's not even talk about anything but this quarterback stuff before we get going here. Oh, buddy. So let's talk about the story of the weekend, and then we'll get specific about the Browns. Shador Sanders.
Yes, clearly the story of the weekend.
The slide of all slides, the slide to end all slides, the greatest slide of all time. Shador Sanders goes from being mocked regularly at between number 1 and number 3 early in the process to quickly being mocked between maybe number 9 and number 30 something over the next couple months to everybody and their brother being wrong about this and all kinds of stuff coming out about the whys and the whats. But the fact is, not only did he fall in the 5th round, but he was the second quarterback taken by the team that drafted him, who had already taken Dylan Gabriel in the 3rd round, Craig.
Unbelievable.
This is
Uh,
amazing, dude.
Just absolutely amazing. I, to be honest, they just made me a Shador Sanders fan, though. I want this
I'm
kid.
rooting for him now.
I want this kid to be awesome and just spit right in everybody's face who doubted him because this is BS. I do not understand why he fell that far and why he fell behind so many other quarterbacks.
Yeah. Well, this is so much. This is fascinating, man. So much has come out, and who knows what, but a lot of it's coming out from people that did the interviews. So here's what came out. He blew the whiteboard interviews with everybody, according to the source that I was reading. Now, whether that's true or not, this is inside stuff. Who knows? Take it with a grain of salt, because sometimes this stuff is BS, as we know. But these are factors that I'm hearing. He blew the whiteboard interviews, meaning he wasn't processing. And you heard all weekend that he wasn't processing well off the whiteboard. But we hear that about a lot of quarterbacks that go early. So this is,
Right.
these are things you hear about quarterback prospects, not necessarily things that explain entirely his fall in the 5th round. The single biggest factor that I heard is that he disrespected the process. He was, according to a lot of people, he's the worst quarterback interview that they've ever done.
Oh, all right.
So now I don't know if this is just like a lot of it seems to be. It feels to me like it's aimed a lot at Dion and the way he handled this whole thing. Um, Coming out, or like Dion coming out, during the season and saying, we're not going to play for certain teams, and a lot of this being a big old backhand to Dion. I'm not sure how to take it. I really don't know. One thing's pretty clear: he didn't interview well. That's for sure. Um, Other than
Right.
that, I'm really not sure, man. Like, he's not fast. He doesn't have a rocket arm, but he played really well in college. And usually, guys like that go somewhere between the back end of the 1st round and somewhere in the 2nd round. And he fell all the way to the 5th round. I don't know, man. It's fascinating to me. I can't wait to see where this lands. And he's going to have now. Check out this. Here's your quarterback room in Cleveland. Now you have a 965-year-old Joe Flacco.
Yep.
You have Kenny Pickett, who they just traded for, right? But
Yeah.
I mean, they gave up, their backup quarterback, so it's not like they gave up much. But and you have a third round quarterback in Dylan Gabriel and a fifth round quarterback in Shador Sanders, all battling it out.
Yeah, I'm going to assume that I guess Pickett is going to start the season.
See, I'm torn between that and Flacco because only because of like respect to the old man, especially after they signed him and then drafted two guys that they're clearly going to try and play over. But I would think if all is equal, that it would be Pickett. But I don't know. This is so hard to read. The one thing I'm almost positive of is that neither of the rookies are going to win it on day one.
No, I think they're not. It's going to be a struggle for either one of them to get on the field.
Yeah,
We might
yeah,
not see Shador until next year on the field at all.
yeah. And we might, listen. There's a chance you never see Shador start a snap in the NFL. I mean, I don't think that's going to happen, but it's possible. He got drafted in a position where that happens all the time.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Teams don't give a crap about fifth round quarterbacks in large part. So it's just astonishing. I'm still, my jaw's still on the floor. I still can't believe it. Did you see Mel Kiper losing his mind? Did you see any of this?
Well, Mel Kiper was high on him. He had him as the number one quarterback
And
over Cam Ward.
he was losing his mind. He was like to the point where you kind of like a lot of people had to turn off ESPN. Like, and it's not that I entirely disagreed with him or anything. It was just he wouldn't stop talking about it, but it was hilarious for a while. And like he was like, even on day three, like he's still going off about it for minutes on end to the point where they're taking commercial breaks to stop him. And um he looked right into the camera, and at one point, Reese Davis and a few of the other guys there on day three were like, "Okay, we get that you think he should have been the number one pick or the number one quarterback taken. We get that, but here's what we're learning from the NFL is that they don't think that." And he's like, and he looks right at the camera and he goes, "That's because the NFL is stupid."
I love it.
I love it, man. I love when somebody has a different opinion and they stick to it. It's just great. It was awesome. So anyway, fascinating whole scenario there, man. I don't know what else to say about it. It's just still blowing my mind.
Well, they got a B minus, but I tell you, getting the first round pick next year, and like you said, that very good draft next year, two first rounders is huge.
Huge.
And they end up getting Mason Graham, who, according to what I'm reading here, this run up, he's going to fit in really well. And, he's one of the best players in the entire draft
Yep. Absolutely. I'm a big fan. Yeah. No,
at number
that was a great
five, which
pick.
is where you picked him. You picked him to go number five to Jacksonville. But
Right.
Jacksonville, of course, moves up to number two and takes Travis Hunter, which we'll talk about here in a little bit.
And
But yeah,
their round 2 and 3 was fast. Take Dylan Gabriel out of the equation for a second. We talked enough about their quarterbacks, but they had Carson Schweschinger, who was the number 2 linebacker on everybody's board, and they got him early in the second round. They took Quinshawn Judkins, the Thunder of the Thunder and Lightning at Ohio State, ahead of the Lightning, and everybody had Lightning going ahead of Thunder. So that was
yep,
really interesting. He looks like another Nick Chubb potential. I mean, that's a
he does.
high bar, but he has that build and he has that type of running style. So best case scenario, they get something resembling the great Nick Chubb. They got Harold Fannin Jr., one of my favorite tight ends at the beginning of round 3. That was the end of kind of the stud tight ends. There were like 6 or 7 of them this year. So very interesting draft, man. Very interesting
Yep,
draft. And Dylan Sampson, the running back they got 2 running backs. They got their lightning too. So
will be interesting.
yeah, yeah. Now, before we move off of this whole thing entirely with the Browns and with Shador, I want to bring up one more thing. And I'll tell you, man, I've seen the penalties come out, and frankly, I don't think it's enough. Did you hear about Jeff
Yep, yes,
Ulbricht's
I did.
son?
Yep.
Now, I'm telling you, if I would have fired him, I would have fired his ass. That is one of the craziest things I've ever heard of, and it just shows a complete lack of respect and just awful human character.
Another reason why I'm rooting for Shador now.
Absolutely, man. And we should explain this because some of the listeners might not know this. So, Jeff Ulbrich, who is the defensive coordinator for the Atlanta Falcons, has a 21-year-old son who stole the Shador Sanders private number. That it's not a number that's available to the public. It's only given out on draft day to certain teams, coordinators, and coaches and GMs and things like that. He stole it from his dad, called Shador, and said, "Hey, we're going to take you, but it sucks. You have to wait still." I'm paraphrasing. It wasn't exactly like that. Basically, he said, "We're going to take him, but you're going to have to wait." And Shador was kind of like, "What the hell does that mean?" You know what I mean?
Yeah,
They
I don't
fined the
know.
Falcons 250 grand, which is nothing. They fined Jeff Ulbrich 100 grand, which is nothing given his contract, and did nothing else. I thought that was pathetic. I thought they should lay the hammer on this guy for that, personally.
Yeah, because I mean, it was he pranked him on draft day. How do
It's
you do that?
it's crazy. I can't believe that that's all that the punishment was. I just can't believe it. The Falcons aren't doing anything over and above what the NFL did. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that because I think it's disgusting, and that kid is a disgusting human being. I hope he learns his lesson and becomes a better man.
I do too, because that's just unacceptable.
It is. It's pathetic, disgusting behavior. All right, I think I've said my piece. All right, man. Now, where does that take us?
That takes us to the Pittsburgh Steelers, and their
Ooh,
grade was a B.
a B. Now they got a couple. Their first two picks, though, I love for them. I love Derek Harmon had Steeler written all over him. He
Yep,
really did. He's that kind of guy that teams that don't run a 3-4 like the Steelers have a hard time sometimes figuring out what to do with, and the Steelers turn into all pros.
yeah, he's going to be good. I
Yeah.
like him quite a bit, and I like Caleb Johnson too, the running back.
Perfect. This was perfect. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to be drafting Caleb Johnson in my fantasy drafts. I don't know where he'll end up going by the time drafts start happening, but if I can get him in the last few rounds, he'll be on every team I have because he will be the guy by the middle of the season, if not sooner.
He's got
Um,
Derrick Henry comps.
yeah, yes. Now he's not quite as fast as King Henry, but he's just as tough. And he is, man. Listen, this dude is the real deal, and he's on the perfect team, the team that appreciates that kind of running back. Um, and
Plus, they
the
have
only thing
Arthur
he's
Smith.
competing with.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
go
they
ahead.
have
I'm sorry.
Arthur Smith as their offensive coordinator.
Eh,
And you know, Arthur
Exactly.
Smith likes to be archaic and run the ball 45 times.
Exactly. He's perfect. And you know who the two running backs they have, the two proven backs they have on their team as we speak are Kenny Gainwell, who I love, former Eagle, who they signed as a free agent, who is all of 5'10 and 190, and Jalen Warren, who's the exact same size.
Yeah.
Neither of them are three down running backs. Nobody thinks they are. Nobody ever had a thought of either of them ever being a three down running back. They're both really good complementary backs. This is your three down running back.
Yep, and they got an edge rusher too in the fourth round.
Yeah, Jack Sawyer from Ohio State.
Oh, they lost their second round pick. I forgot about that. They
Yeah, I
didn't have a
forget.
second
I
round.
don't remember why or how,
It
but
doesn't
yeah, you're right.
say. They didn't have a second rounder.
Correct. And Yaya Black, by the way, not only is that a cool name, but they got two guys from Iowa with him and Caleb Johnson, and that guy is a monster man. Monster
Okay.
man. Let me look up. I'll look up his dimensions real quick, but it's he's a
Teams have their identities that are go throughout history, and the Steelers' history is good defense.
yeah, right, exactly. And they have been, it seems like they've been playing a 3-4 since 3-4 was invented. They may have been the team that invented the 3-4 for all I know.
Mhm.
Um,
I think it might have been Chuck Noll. Yeah.
yeah, you might, I'm not sure. Now that I said that, I'm going to have to look it up later. But nobody, like and I don't want to say nobody, but very few teams seem to recognize what works on their defense, at least their front seven. Better, they're horrible at drafting cornerbacks. They have been for years, but but at least their front seven. There's not many people better at recognizing what works for them. I love it. And Yaya Black, by the way, is 6'5", 317 pounds.
Jeez.
I love it. All right, man. Cool. Now,
Oh my goodness. Bud Wilkinson invented the 3-4 defense in 1949.
get the heck out of town.
And he originally called it the 5-2 defense.
Well, see, I remember the 5-2 also because some teams started using that in college back in and calling it a 5-2 eventually. But there was some subtle difference. I don't remember. But yeah, that's awesome, dude. That Bud Wilkinson. I know that name, but I don't know why I know the name. I mean, I guess because he's a famous defensive guy in the NFL. But that's awesome. Good pull, Craig.
And Hank Stram invented the 4-3.
Hank Stram. Why, did he do that while he was matriculating down the field?
You got to matriculate, that's for sure.
That's what that is the best. I love. He was so when they mic'd him up in that Super Bowl against the Packers, he produced gold.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Gold. And arguably the best vocabulary in the history of professional football coaches.
By the way, Tom Landry also gets credit for the 3-4 defense in zone blitz schemes that he created as well,
Oh,
and what he
interesting.
calls the flex defense. And by the
Interesting.
way, he invented the flex defense when he was the offensive and defensive coordinator for the Cowboys.
Oh, that's crazy. Can you
Can you
imagine?
imagine that?
Can you imagine? There were probably 4 coaches on the whole staff or something.
So basically, he doesn't get credit for inventing these defenses. He's got gets credit for uh, basically altering them and making them more effective.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, and I would imagine he had a part in popularizing them in the NFL.
Yeah,
Because the other guy
yeah.
was
Like
college, right?
no, in
Oh, he was just
Dallas.
early days. I don't know why I was thinking I was thinking why I was thinking college because I used to use the 5-2 defense in NCAA football.
He moved the defensive lineman back 2 yards to create the middle linebacker position, which wasn't a position,
Oh, there you go. Okay. Now it
and
makes
that
sense.
effectively invented the 4-3.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
All right, sorry,
No, I love
little,
that kind of
little
stuff, man. That's
tangent.
freaking awesome. Okay, well
All right,
that
man.
takes us to the AFC South and the Houston Texans.
Absolutely.
And
And
they're getting a
Jaden
beat.
Higgins, yeah, the receiver.
Now they traded out of the first round like the Rams, and I'm trying to remember. I know they were at 25. I'm going to look up. If you don't mind talking about this for a second, I want to find the details on their trade.
Yeah, because I don't have him here. But with Nico Collins going down and the receivers are good, but seem to not be able to stay on the field. I understand taking Higgins here, just
I do
solidify
too.
that room. They also got Jalen Noel, another receiver in the third round. So they're kind of stocking up to protect themselves against those injuries. Offensive tackle in the second round as well. So they need the protection. Obviously, they need the offensive line protection. Wasn't he sacked the most in the league last year? I think he was.
Second to Caleb Williams,
Yeah,
but
and
they
of
were
course
both
they
sacked
made
a
they made other
lot.
moves. Don't forget they made other moves in free agency for the offensive line too.
But they also traded away their best offensive lineman, Laramie Tunsil. To me, I would give them a C at best. Now, it's not because I don't like Jaden Higgins. I mean, that's fine taking him, but this team had one of the three worst offensive lines in football last year, and they took one guy.
Yeah, I agree.
I can't fathom that. And it's not like they signed anybody as good as Laramie Tunsil that they traded away. So I don't know what they were thinking. So it's not that I have a problem with any one of these individual players that they drafted. I just if they didn't come out of this draft with at least 2, preferably 3, even if it was in the sixth or seventh round as flyer prospects, I just can't believe that blows my mind. So maybe they'll do more to address it between now and training camp. But if they don't, I'm astonished.
Yeah, Stroud's going to be running for his life.
yeah, I just don't see the way how they get much better, off one guy. So yeah, so especially when that one guy is the position of the All Pro you traded. So
Yeah,
I don't know, man. I'm a little mystified by them, but I like some of the players they took. It's not that; it's just the position.
I
Now,
agree. I
I
agree.
did find the trade, and this I forgot as soon as I saw it. I remember, but it was this was where the we'll talk about the details later. But the Giants traded up to get the 25th pick, and the Texans traded back to 34, got a third rounder this year and a third rounder next year. So that's not. I mean, I don't blame the Texans for doing it. It's a nice pickup, but it's not a haul. It's not something that I'm like, oh, the Giants gave up a ton to do that. You know what I mean?
Right, right, right. Yep.
So all right, cool. All right, man. On to the Colts.
Real quick, they did sign some people in the free agent signings. They signed Cam Robinson, the tackle, and Laken Tomlinson, the guard.
Yes. Now, if you look both of them up on Pro Football Reference, Cam Robinson has had some decent years.
Yeah, I thought he would be a good signing, but maybe he's just gotten old.
Let's see. I'm just because I remember looking at this and thinking, well, they did something, but not quite enough. Yeah. So okay, so Cam Robinson in his prime was like was in he's up and down, man. He's been as high as an 8 in this AV annual value, and as low as a 1. Oh no, but that was the year he was hurt. As low as a 4. It looks like he's roughly comes in somewhere between a 5 and an 8, which is not Laramie Tunsil, but not completely inadequate or anything. He was a 5 last year playing 10 games for Minnesota, which isn't great, but it's not horrible. So that's a solid signing. That's a decent signing. And then Laken Tomlinson, let's take a look at him real quick. Because I'm concerned for CJ Stroud, man. I really am. I mean, he went from so good that rookie year to so mediocre at best that second year. Now, Laken is okay. Laken made a Pro Bowl as recently as 2021 and has been a 6, a 4, and a 6 since. So, so fair. That's fair. They lost an All Pro and gained 2 decent players and then drafted a guy in the second round. So that's 3 guys. So, yeah, okay. It's possible on the balance that they're better on the whole.
Yeah, but chances are probably still going to need more help. But I think it's a little bit more of an improvement. They might be okay.
A
Might
little
be
better than I
okay.
thought for sure. A little better than
Yeah,
I thought for sure.
might be okay.
Yeah, it's interesting betting your franchise quarterback on a maybe though, isn't it? That's
Yeah.
wild to me.
Oh, and it's no better than a maybe. That's all. That's the best they can do.
Yeah, it's fascinating, interesting approach. All right,
All right.
moving on to the Colts.
Moving on to the Colts.
All right, and they were given a B minus by Yahoo.
Well, everybody knew they were going to take a tight end, and Warren was there.
Yeah, we gave him. I think we both gave him the other one.
Yeah, we both gave him Loveland because we had Warren going before him.
Right on. So I mean, gift falling right into their lap, and it's perfect. It's perfect. It made as much sense as any pick in the whole round.
Yep, absolutely. We talked about him extensively in the preview show, the draft our draft pick show. But yeah, that's a great pick. Loveland's a great pick. Warren, great pick. So either one of them would have been fine. And overall, they got a B minus. The rest of their draft is kind of ho hum to me, really. To be honest, nobody's
It's
really
all over the place.
standing out as something that I need to talk about.
JT Tuamula from Ohio State is a very interesting player. I mean, he could be good in the NFL. I'm curious to see. He was a very good college edge rusher, but nothing else jumps off the board at me.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see.
Yeah, that's going to be one of those. Let's revisit this in 2028.
I agree. And I want to. So Colts fans, sorry to jump off so quickly, but I need to get to the Jacksonville one. Do you see
Oh,
what
buddy,
Yahoo did? They gave them an A for their draft, and they put a little smiley face next to it. It's the
they
only team
did
that has a smiley
with a party hat. The thing is a party hat, Craig.
Ah, but yeah, I mean, they made the trade and got Travis Hunter. And from what I understand, they're going to let him play both ways.
Yeah. Which, listen, any team that drafted him better go in with that attitude because that dude is determined to do it. I mean, he literally said he's going to retire if they don't let him. So if a team had drafted him and been like, yeah, we're going to work it out, or we're gonna talk to him or something like that, I would have been just just really worried for the whole future of this whole thing. But he went to a team that's going to let him do what he wants to do, and I'm
Well,
really
no,
curious.
I'm reading they're leaning more towards him playing more wide receiver than cornerback.
We'll see. I've heard a lot of people talk about because I read that too. I've heard a lot of people talk about what they think they know. I heard that GM the day of the draft say he's going to play both sides of the ball.
Okay.
So now we'll see because there's no chance in hell he's going to play every snap on both sides of the ball. It's impossible. You know,
Right.
I mean, I don't know how it's going to get implemented. And
He's probably going to take a series off on both sides. He'll take one series off on defense and play all the offense, and and then take another series off on offense and play just defense.
yeah, that's possible. I mean, I can't wait to see how they do it, man. I really can't. And I don't know what to think of him in. Oh, by the way, real quick, I have to jump back to the Colts real quick because I want to talk about Hunter's fantasy stuff real quick. But it reminded me there was a big fantasy thing with the Colts I want to talk about. Tyler Warren. Now listen, this guy is a stud, and I think if with the right quarterback, he is immediately vaults into the top 7 or 8 potential for fantasy this year. Problem
Totally
is,
agree. Totally agree.
now here's the problem: if it's Anthony Richardson, I drop him out of the top 15. If it's Daniel Jones, I keep him at least in the top 10.
Yeah, I don't know who it's going to be though.
Anthony Richardson has not shown he can support a single receiver in fantasy in 2 years in the NFL. Not one receiver on his entire team. And I'm talking receivers, tight ends, anybody.
Right. I agree.
So if Daniel Jones wins that job, I'm all over Tyler Warren because at least he's good enough to support some guys. He's done it, with
Yeah.
Malik Neighbors and another guy maybe or two in that 1 year. But yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that real quick because his immediate rookie future is widely variable week to week depending on who's playing quarterback for that team. I think.
I agree. I agree.
Right on. Very cool. Okay. So
Travis
anyway,
Hunter
whew,
on offense will be opposite Brian Thomas. That is a hell of a young and good receiving core if he
it
plays offense a lot, mostly.
it's so exciting. It's so exciting. I can't wait because man, like Brian Thomas was so good. I mean, it was him and Malik Neighbors, 1 and 1A. Pick your poison because you could pick either one, and I won't argue it. But and to add Travis Hunter to that now, I mean, geez, they are doing everything they can to get success in this freaking Trevor Lawrence era.
Yeah, I mean, and I think they need to, well, their defense actually is not terrible. Their defense, they made a lot of free agent signings the last couple of years on defense, so that's probably why they went heavy on offense. But you got Hunter, who can also play corner, obviously. Then they
Yep.
go with a safety, but then they come back with offensive tackle Wyatt Millum, and then a running back.
Yes, Bashul Tootin, who I love.
Yeah,
Now, Tootin is this was a bit of a luxury pick to me. I mean, it was they have I still personally I'm not giving up on ATN, although maybe people are, but I'm not.
well, it
But
seems like they did.
but Tootin is not being drafted to replace anybody. Tootin is the best case for Tootin, and I think there's a really good chance for it. Is he is a top notch change of pace back in the NFL. Now, maybe he proves me wrong and becomes an Austin Eckler that proved everybody wrong. But he's even
Right.
smaller. Like he's not only the small height of Eckler, but he's small of build too. He's electric though. So I love him as a guy that's your second running back when you have a guy that's 220 as your number one. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
as a compliment to ATN, maybe it works out in an ideal world for them, or maybe ATN's toast and I don't know.
Well, they
But
drafted another running back too, last pick.
yes, which that doesn't mean a ton, but yes, I'm
No.
with you. It is just another body in the room that makes you think maybe ATN is not so much in favor anymore.
Right. Okay,
Yeah,
but I like the draft.
I do
I think
too.
I like the draft quite a bit.
I do too, man. And listen, they got Travis Hunter. You know what I mean? So, they and now they gave up, a future first round draft pick, and in the draft again that a lot of people think is the one of the best drafts of the last 30 years next year. Um, so you can have your thoughts about that, but they got one of the best players of the last 30 years, according to some people. So it's worth it. And I
Yeah,
can't wait to see how it shakes out, man. I cannot wait to see how it shakes out.
can't wait to see him play.
Yeah, I want to see week one what goes down.
Yep, yep.
Love it. All right, man. All right, on to the Tennessee Titans.
Yes, and they're B plus grade.
Yes, and that's in large part. You better get at least a B plus when you're taking number one overall.
Right. And it's large part because of Cam Ward,
No
de
doubt.
facto number one. And do you think, are we just correct to assume he's just going to start day one?
I'd be stunned if not. I don't see any unless he's just there's just unless he's not learning quickly and it doesn't go well. If he let's put it this way, if he doesn't start week one, it's because something went wrong. They're not putting Will Levis out there on purpose.
Right, right, right. Okay. So there's different theories on that. My theory is always sit him, but they really don't have a better option, so they're
That's
kind
and
of
listen,
stuck.
I'm in favor of sitting when possible too. I really am. And listen, Cam Ward is not the most polished prospect to ever come out. It's not like they're taking Peyton Manning here, so he's going to need some time and he's going to be rough early. But I just don't see the percentage if he's competent at all early. I don't see the percentage in throwing Levis out there. I don't know. We'll see what they decide, but I think it's likely he's week one. I think.
And then they go an edge rusher around two, El Oladejo,
Yes.
and
Yep.
then a safety, and then receiver, tight end, receiver. So they want these kids to grow up together and just develop together over time.
Absolutely, man. No, it makes a lot of sense. It's and Gunnar Helm, by the way, I was always mentioning seven. Wait, what was it? I always forget if it was six or seven. Whatever the amount of tight ends that I mentioned on our preview show, it was either six or seven. Um, Gunnar Helm was the next guy just outside of that bubble, and a lot of people had him inside that bubble. So this was a nice pick in round four for them potentially. Um, I'm not going anywhere near saying the name of that round four wide receiver from Florida, by the way.
Nope. No, we'll call
You guys
him
can look that up, listeners.
his, his Shamir
yes,
is
exactly.
his first name.
Exactly.
But yes, receiver and yeah, two receivers, tight end, and they drafted a running back last. So I mean,
Exactly.
they really just went all in on offense in this draft. Other than the second pick, the edge rusher, and then later on, actually no, even later on they drafted a lineman. So all offense other than the edge rusher.
Well, check this out, dude, because that lineman you're talking about, the name just jumped off the page at me, and I looked it up. That is Jackie Slater's son.
Wow, what do you have him when he was 50?
That's what because I was like, I wonder if that's his like, is he related to him? Is it his like, I wasn't
Grandson,
thinking.
maybe.
Yeah, I wasn't. I was. Yeah. I was right there with you, but it says yes. Jackson Slater is the son of Pro Football Hall of Famer Jackie Slater.
Had him when he was 70 years old. Marcus Harris is the defensive back too. I misspoke on the only defensive player was the edge rusher. So they
Good
got
call.
two defensive players.
Good call. Yeah, and that second one was a round sixer. So yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, fascinating, fascinating. All right, good stuff. How about we hop over to the AFC West?
Denver
The
Broncos get a C
yes.
plus.
Now they threw a massive curveball at everybody because one of the most heavily mocked things of the whole draft, you, me included, was the running back who I'm blanking on right now from North Carolina. Help me out.
Hampton.
Yes, Omarion Hampton going at 20 to the Broncos. He was sitting right there for him,
We
and they
both
let
picked
him
him.
pass right on by.
Yeah, we both picked him.
And so did everybody else in there, and their 70-year-old fathers.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um, Yeah, man. And well, listen, I have no problem with the player they took. I love Jahdae Barron, and they're teaming him with one of the best cornerbacks in football that they already have. So this has a potential to be one of the best defensive backfields in football. And who do they play? They play some pretty good pass. They play the Chiefs. They play the Chargers. They're playing some teams that have some people gunning at them. So it makes some sense to me. What did you think of that one as opposed to Omar and Hampton or any other thing they could have done?
Well, the thing is, I think they must have really liked R.J. Harvey, which is why they let Hampton go.
Yeah. Or just the value of the position in round two. Yeah, I'm with
Right,
you.
because they got him in round two, pick 60, and so they still got a running back, and I think he's going to be very good, especially with the coach and how they do things there. So I have no problem with it, and yeah, I like Barron just as much as you. So I understand the first two picks, but the C+ grade seems to be because of the rest of the draft.
Yeah, I'm with you there, man. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, it's interesting because they had a decent amount of picks. But I'm trying to figure out what they don't like about it. Yeah, the Pat Bryant. I know some people thought that was a reach. But I didn't have a big issue. I don't know, man. They should get a lot that's going to like heavily impact their team outside of those first two picks.
Yeah,
So that would explain the low grade, I guess. I'm not sure. I mean, but if Savion Jones is better than people think, and they get a guy who can get some sacks in the third round, it makes the whole
yeah,
draft look better. So, but they got two edge rushers in round 3 and 4, one from LSU and one from Alabama. If you're throwing darts in round 3 and 4, you could do worse than that. So,
yeah. I would say I kind of disagree with this C+.
yeah, I'm with you there. I'm with you there. I kind of like their draft actually, especially because I like Jahdae Barron a ton. And I honestly, I didn't, I don't have a strong opinion on RJ Harvey because I didn't see him play enough. I just saw highlights. But people that I respect love this guy. Like some people were going crazy when he got drafted on day two about his potential in fantasy. So and just grabbing that job right off the bat. So guy to
Yeah,
keep your eye on for sure because that job is there for the taking.
I agree.
All right, should we
Okay.
go to the Chiefs?
Chiefs in their B+ grade that you got right, by the way. Their pick, Josh Simmons, is who you picked for them.
Unbelievable.
I
I can't
mean,
believe that one.
the
Yeah.
Super Bowl let the script out that they need offensive line help, and that's exactly what they did. I mean, they addressed it right off the bat.
They did, and they got a guy who a lot of people, there's some whispers about like work ethic maybe with this guy, but nobody was saying anything really concrete. So, and I hate that kind of thing when people whisper about, oh,
Yeah.
there might be some stuff. Well, tell me the stuff or shut your mouth. You know what I mean? Don't just throw shade. I
Well,
can't stand that kind of stuff.
the reason why he dropped because he had a knee injury.
Yes, and that has nothing to do with these work ethic whispers you know what I mean? So
Yeah, and from what I'm seeing too is there's according to this article, Yahoo, saying he's a top 10 level talent and might have been the first tackle off the board if he wasn't hurt.
yeah, yeah. Listen, this could be one of the steals of the draft when it's all said and done. And boy, did they need him. It's a need, it's a value. I thought it was one of the best picks in the first round when it's all said and done. I think so. I don't know much about the rest of their draft, honestly. They went hard on D line the next two picks. They went corner. They got a wide receiver in round 4. Although finally, listen, I have no problem with them not even taking a wide receiver in this draft after years of complaining about their receivers. I think they're pretty damn good there now.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree. I agree.
so I think this all comes down to can Josh Simmons keep Mahomes on his back against elite teams and or off his back, I should say. And if he can, this draft is an A+.
I agree.
Love it. Love it.
No
All right.
complaints there.
Boy, and now, let's get to another interesting draft here. The Las Vegas Raiders.
Another pick you got right with Genty.
Yeah, and that was the end of me being right for a little while.
Right.
But boy, listen. If let's just talk strictly fantasy for a second here, because we're talking mostly football perspective and a little fantasy sprinkled in here and there. This is one of the best spots he could have landed. There is no. This is a team that wants to use him, use him, use him. There's nobody competing for touches. This is he's going to touch the ball 300 times just to start the season.
I agree. I agree. And Pete Carroll, he's probably looks at him as the second coming of Marshawn Lynch.
Absolutely, absolutely,
And if that's the case, yeah, he's getting 25 to 30 touches a game.
absolutely, man. And he is a really good receiver too. So I wouldn't be surprised. I have to look up the history of Geno Smith throwing to running backs. Um, but if Geno's one of those guys that likes it, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a minimum of 50 catches his rookie season.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is fascinating, man. And listen, Jack Beck, the receiver out of TCU in the second round, really I like that guy a lot. Fascinating, absolutely, really electric player. So I'm really curious to see how he pans out in the NFL because he feels a little bit more, or it feels like a what? Who's dang it? Now I'm blanking on the guy I wanted to compare him to. Who's the white receiver that played for the Oakland? Hunter Renfrow.
Oh yeah, yeah.
He's like a more electric Renfro.
Okay. Renfrew was a solid receiver.
Renfro was very solid. Renfro was almost if Renfro had played with Tom Brady, he would have caught 110 passes a year.
Yeah.
He was the perfect Brady. He retired and then he's coming back this year. He's trying to sign with the team right now. Yeah. He was only 28 years old, I think. And I think he's just like injuries
Really
accumulated and he
interesting.
took a year off and now he wants to play again. So he'd be on my radar if I needed a slot receiver.
Yeah. And then round three,
Yeah,
they
which I
had
won't
three
argue with that at
third
all for
round
them.
picks, and they used two of them for offensive line. Nope, no, especially when you want to run the ball
Absolutely,
and
man.
and
Absolutely.
have high percentage throws. Yeah.
Oh, the
Now, what did
North
you
Dakota
think of
State
the
guy.
quarterback pick? Mel-
That's right because they took two in
Yeah,
a row. They
no,
took Montana State and then North Dakota
Montana
State
State.
quarterbacks. Yeah, yeah. They just said, "Hey, man, we're going to take a
Oh yeah,
shot
that's right.
on
Yeah,
the two best
yeah.
guys that don't play
Interesting.
Division One football."
I, and they're,
Yeah, they're
you know,
depth, and
I agree that they could just
they're.
basically
It's
lottery
like
tickets and dart
some
throws, but
teams
you never know.
are real. Like listen, anytime it's like when the Niners take a running back in the sixth round, you just pencil him in for 100 yards at some point this season. When the Eagles take a quarterback, you got to figure he's going to get traded somewhere for at least a fourth round pick before or become a starter. You know what I mean? Like it's fascinating how that works. It's like and by the way, I
Right,
would
right.
also be remiss if we didn't mention JJ Pegasus, which I'm sure that's not how you actually say his name, but it's how I'm going to say his name from now on. The defensive tackle they took from Mississippi in round 6. That is JJ Pegasus.
I won't argue.
Yeah, Pegways, like you said
Pegwest,
there, I think you're
Pegwest, maybe
probably
is
right,
how
but
it's
I like
really. I don't
Pegasus.
know.
All right, Nick,
I do too.
I do too. I like that draft, and
So I think this is a good draft by them.
I'm always
I like
fascinated.
it.
The Raiders are just such a fascinating team to me. I'm just so always interested in seeing if they can just somehow get themselves competitive. You know what I mean? It happens so rarely that I root for it because it's just like, oh man, like the last time they got themselves to a Super Bowl, their center didn't even show up. Like that's the kind of team they have. You know what I mean? Like it's crazy. So I kind of root for them to get competitive because it happens so rarely.
Yeah.
They do not like the Chargers
All
draft
right.
at
Let's move on to
at
the
all.
Chargers
But
in
who
their
fell to
sixth
them?
draft grade.
Mhm.
Hampton, and we did talk about him for them if he fell. Um, I
I
tell you,
agree. This
just on this pick alone, I think it should be better than a C. Because this is a home run pick for them. This is
immediately.
exactly what they're looking for. He becomes the best back in the room immediately. Big upgrade for them, and that's exactly
Uh,
what they're going to want to do
Najee
is run the
Harris
ball. So
just
how is
went
this not a
from
better
a
grade
second round
just on
draft
him
pick
alone?
to not even drafted, and in auction leagues from a
Oh, for fantasy, yes. Yep. I tell, tell you too. The second round pick, Trey Harris, the receiver, I like him too. And right off the bat, they're just loading up on offense. Running back, quarterback, or running back, receiver, first two picks. Yes. And yeah, tight end. So I mean, and then offensive tackle. I mean, they really loaded up on offense. Yeah, Caldwell, the defensive lineman, and um, what was it Kennard, the edge rusher in the third and fourth round? That's going to be helpful too. So yeah, I don't understand. I don't understand the C draft grade. Yep. Okay, let's go to the NFC East. The first team is my team, but we're going to wait. Yeah. So the next team was going to be the New York Giants. I don't understand. I don't understand how they got a B. A plus. I'd give them the best grade in the in the entire draft. Right. I think and I said this before, if I was picking one player in this entire draft just based on impact and available and ability, I think he's the best player in the entire draft. Yeah, I agree. So and it pains me to say. I don't want the Giants to be good, but I can't see how this kid is not going to be like awesome. Right. Right. But everything else. Yep. There was a rumor that he wanted. Well, the reason why I think it's an A plus is because they had to trade up to do it, but they traded into the 20s. I thought Jackson Dart was going to go way before that. I thought there was an actual possibility. I thought there was a possibility they were going to take him at 3. Honestly, yeah, that's where I think where we both ended up with him in that range, somewhere around there. But regardless, so the fact that they got him in the 20s is why I like it, even though they had to trade up to do it. They didn't give up. I mean, yeah, it wasn't a huge jump up to anyway. So I'm not. I think the trade's fine, and they got their guy. Obviously, he was their favorite after probably after Ward, but we'll see. And it pains me to say, like I said, because I think if he works out and Carter is who we think he is, they killed this draft. Then offensive line, yeah, but I don't know why, but for some reason they are content and they think they have a good line. Right, because Andrew Thomas they think will fix everything, and as soon as he plays. Yeah, but and that's the problem. They're putting too much stock in him, but we'll have to see. But yeah, like I listen to the listen to the sports talk here in New York, and they're fine with it. They're like whenever they draft an offensive lineman, it doesn't work anyway. So let's just stop. Let's not even bother. Hopefully it continues to be that, and that's their downfall. Especially if Dart's behind there. If Dart, yeah, if Dart's there and starting, he's gonna get killed. No, I'm not in love with him either, but he definitely could. I could see him being good. Yeah, yeah. I think the line is going to be another 5-win season. Yep. So yeah, no, yeah, but he's a bruiser. Yeah, and it's got to be with Tracy, the other back. That's a good backfield. Yep. Yep. Yeah. So we'll have to see. Um, I don't like the fact that I like their draft as much as I do, but I do, and we'll have to see. We'll have to see. They gotta what they get here. They got to be here. Yeah. Okay. Yes, yes. Well, the problem is, I mean, he's got, they got Dexter Lawrence and Kayvon Thibodeau with him. That's a formidable. Yeah, that's a problem. Yeah, I still stand to this. I think they're going to play a lot of low scoring games in the first half. The defense will get tired and they'll lose the games in the second half. That's what I think they're going to do. Right. Yep. Not at all. I think, like I said, there's still going to be like a 5-win team, partly because the schedule is so hard, and you don't know when Dart's going to play and how he's going to. He might bust or just not have any time. The offensive line. So I still think it's going to suck. But the problem for us is if next year's draft is as good as it's going to be, they're going to have another high pick and get another really good player. Yeah, maybe we'll have to see. Yep. Commanders B+ they got. Yep, and I like Connerly. I do. Right, that's probably what it's from. Yeah, I had Connerly going 24th to Minnesota. Yep. 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 So I have no problem with that pick at all. Yeah, I like the first two. Like you said, though, they didn't have a lot of picks. What they have one, two. They had 5 picks total. Um, Nothing. Seventh round running back. I'm not going to get excited about a sixth round linebacker. Not so much. Mm. Right. So yeah, to be honest, I would probably give them more like a B- or maybe even a C+. Yeah, I agree. I agree. But they're going to be good. I mean, they're going to be a good team. There's no reason to think they're not going to be good again. Yep. Okay. Do you want to do your team or my team? Okay. They got an A, and I've been seeing A's everywhere. This isn't the only one. Obviously, for my team, I looked at a lot of the grades, and everybody seems to really like the draft. I love Tyler Booker because I think did I send this to you? The interview he was doing with he was doing an interview, and actually Micah Parsons was there on the couch listening to it. He said his favorite thing to do. He's like everybody when they first start playing. they get all hyped up for the game. Everybody loves football. They're there, and he's like, but then when you line up across from Tyler Booker, I slowly take the love of football out of your mind. That's his favorite thing to do is take the love of football from you. So, and Micah Parsons loved it. He's like, "That's the greatest thing I've ever." Yes, I agree. Yeah, yep, yep. So I love the Tyler Booker pick. I didn't realize he's as good as he was. I didn't have them taking him. But yeah, he's highly regarded. People really love the pick. And another offensive lineman. Now, I wanted a receiver, but Dallas, their historical strength is always offensive line. They did it last year and this year. They are rebuilding that offensive line. He goes right where Zach Martin was. Let's go. Yep. I had him going 19th to Tampa Bay overall. Yeah, let's pair him with Parsons. That's gonna be fun. Oh yeah, yeah, definitely love him. Yep. And Jaden Blue was the fastest running back in the draft. So yeah, and he's a bruiser. It's like it's another Thunder and Lightning, I think. So I'm all about it. I really really like the draft. I cannot complain. Yeah. Apparently, everybody likes their center that's coming back, Cooper Beebe, and they're saying that the if Booker is who they think, everybody thinks, with Tyler Smith grading out as one of if not the best guard in the league, with Beebe in Booker, that's the best interior possibly it could be the best interior in the league. And if Tyler Guyton has a little bit of a better year, he was a little bit of a disappointment last year, not too bad, but in his second year now, young guys, a lot of Tyler Guyton, Tyler Booker, yeah, Tyler Smith, Tyler Guyton, Tyler Booker, yeah, yeah. I'm a little concerned about that, but I can't complain about this draft. So, uh, yeah, I heard that too, that they might be looking to bring him back. I don't love it, but he's another body. Maybe he can give a little attention off of CD, but we'll have to see. Probably not. Probably not. Yep, and the other guy, the other one is Turpin, is just a return guy more mostly. So I also think this is the end of Miles Sanders too. Well, yeah, because I don't. Right, that's true. That's possible, but I think if I because I think Javante Williams is going to be the incumbent, kind of be the starter, like by default, with these other guys be getting thrown in. But if they impress, the guy, the odd man out, I think would be Sanders. Yeah, yeah, that's true. We'll have to see. But I don't think all. I don't think. Yeah, I still have Javante Williams in my mind. Much. I have Miles. Right. Oh no, 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 no. That's true. That's another reason why these rookies could just take over. We'll have to see. But I don't think four running backs are going to suit up every week. Right. And well, what about Jaden Blue? Right. Right. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. But either way, it's interesting. And yeah. Okay. Well, let's go to the defending Super Bowl champs. Your team. Go ahead. Yep. Now the write-up form it says Dean, N'Kobe Dean. What does it mean for him coming back from his injury? They have depth, exactly. Yep. No. And they. I was just going to say, and they needed to get a safety, and they got one in the second round. Sure, sure. Yep. Right. Yep. Yep. That's what. Yep. That's what you want. That is exciting. You surprised? Are you surprised they went as heavy on defense early? Really? Because the defense was the strong point. I thought they would go more offense. Well, I just look at the point where like last year, it seemed to be any problems they had, which wasn't many, was on the offensive side in terms of scoring enough. Maybe it was just because of depth. Well, that's good. Um, yeah, I mean they're strengthening another strength. I mean they're good across the board, obviously offense and defense. So you kind of just go with whatever Other than safety was a real need, everything else was probably best available, and they made out like bandits. Yeah, yeah. When you can just draft best available. Really? Wow. Well, so yeah, it was a great draft, obviously. Yeah, I would too. I would too. So we didn't agree with everything Yahoo said. The Cowboys, I was looking too. They signed two wide receivers as undrafted free agents, and another Tyler Neville, the tight end from Virginia, and a couple cornerbacks too. Right. Yeah. So we'll have to see. Have to see what they do. So yeah, that Ezraku, he's going to take Demarcus Lawrence's place because I don't think they're not going to sign him back. Yeah, and he's expensive, and hopefully, Ezraku's even better. So I like the pairing. Yep, and we documented many times last year how their top three cornerbacks played like one game together. So I like the Ravel pick as well. Yeah, I think so too. I think so too. And they had to with that friggin'. I know I keep harping on, but that schedule is scary. My, this is ridiculous. That run that we talked about with Philly, where it was just like 6 games in a row, where it was all playoff teams. Yeah, the winner's probably gonna have like 11 wins. Yep, right. I don't think any team in the division is gonna win 13. It's too rough. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Totally agree there because then that's yeah, that's the hardest schedule. The Giants apparently have the hardest. Wait, no, there's no way they do because they've got. I looked at their schedule. There's actually like 4 or 5 games in there that they can actually win. Because they got like yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah. We each get one. The 17th game is like a random team, but I think you have to. It depends on where you place, and if you finish first, you play another first place team. Yeah, it's pretty bad. So we'll have to see. I think you're right about the 11 wins. That seems like what it's going to be. Yeah, I mean we all have the Packers, the Chargers, the Vikings, the of course our own division, and then Broncos, everything else. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, that's the pod. Perfect. Well, we were able to talk about it for a while now, so I'm glad we were. And yeah, next week or no, next week we're going to be on Jordan's podcast, The Baseline, and we're going to be doing what are we doing? Managers of all time. Yep. And then maybe a week or two after that, we're going to do our Aerosmith music pod, and that should be a lot of fun as well. And we're going to probably do some more music pods as the summer goes on, as we're waiting for more football content. Yep, absolutely. And so yeah, make sure you guys check out the baseline next week when we do the managers top 10 of all time. I actually have to get started on that. I usually try to start a rough draft around this time, and I haven't done it yet, so I got to get going. Yeah, right. Just put down a bunch of names and then put with no numbers, and then little by little put them on. Okay, okay. Thank you guys for joining us, and until next time, I will see you later. Come on. I am. It's not letting me clear it. So if we're still recording, people, I apologize. How I normally stop the podcast is not responding. It's not letting me stop it. Huh. Well, either way, that's the end of the podcast, and I'll figure it out. That's right. Yeah, I can't get this to stop, so I'm gonna have to just clear the app. Oh, yeah, well, we're gonna say goodbye for sure. See ya.